Hey, Engine Builder fans, I'm Greg Jones and appreciate you guys joining us for another episode of Industry Insiders. Today, we're joined by someone who is an up and comer in this industry. She's an engine builder, she's a racer, she's a stunt driver. She does a little bit of everything. Of course, I'm talking about Hannah Maloof of Maloof Racing Engines. Hannah, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
How's everything been going? You been good?
Everything's been really good. Been, working a lot and very, very busy with all this stuff going on.
Yeah, well, you're still on the young side. You still got a lot of stuff ahead of you, but you're definitely keeping busy and you do a lot already. And we certainly want to cover a lot of what you have on your plate today. But we'd love to start with a little bit of your background, for the folks out there who might not be familiar with you or even your family and your dad and all the stuff that you guys have done. Tell the folks a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I drag race. I work with my dad at his race car shop building engines, and I also do stunts for TV shows, movies, commercials, anything of that sort. Yeah, I mean, I started doing this. We can go back to like from when I first started and all this, like, because I was born into this,
Right.
like the first day that, my mom told me not too long ago, actually, it's a pretty funny story. The day that I was able to, my parents were able to leave the hospital from me being born, we never made it to the house first. We came here first. So the first place I ever went from anywhere was the shop, so I've been here since day one, and been by my dad's side, just learning everything and anything that I could. And like, I have pictures of me from I wasn't even a year old yet, and I'm sitting on the engine room table with a piston in one hand and a pair of pliers in the other, and I've got a cookie on the table. And I'm just sitting there helping and just watching and learning, and
Yeah.
I've been around it my whole life. Before my mom had me, she was pregnant with me, she was going to all of his races, and he raced at Willow Springs a lot. He did road racing and does drag racing, and he has a GT1 vet that he raced all the time. And so I would go to his races all the time growing up, and
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Hannah, one of my questions for you was, since you've been so ingrained in engine building and racing and that kind of lifestyle since you've been born, has there ever been anything else that has interested you or potentially pulled you away from doing this? Or have you been all in from day one and that's what you love to do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've had anything other, like, all of my interests have always been here, like I'm so invested in it. I love everything about it. And so, like, that's why it's like over the years, like over time, like, I started adding other things to it, like, racing and doing stunts. Like I started driving, goodness, my dad, I've always been behind the wheel with my dad, he's always sticking me in front of me when I was little, sitting in his lap when I was little. And like, I think that the first car I drove, I was 7 or 8 years old or something like that. And then I started learning precision driving and stunts and all that stuff when I was 13.
Okay.
And so I just started adding, things, but everything's always been, car related.
Sure. Hannah, if you would tell the folks a little bit about Maloof Racing Engines itself. We spoke to your dad last year, featured him in one of our Engine of the Week articles. Sounds like you guys do a little bit of everything there at the shop, though. So again, tell the folks a little bit about what you guys work on.
Yeah, so my dad's had the shop for, well over 35 years, and we do like all muscle cars. We build anywhere from Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, Mopar, and everything in between. And then we do drag cars, boats, like, like trucks, done race trucks, a lot of stuff. everything.
Okay.
We've done newer stuff too, like, you know, the newer fuel injected cars and stuff like that, but we kind of pick and choose what we want to do with that kind of stuff.
Okay.
We like to stick to the old school carbureted engines, old school fuel injection, you know.
Yeah, very good.
Big race
and
stuff.
right. Yeah, definitely fun stuff for sure.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about your role at the shop. You know, you've been engine building now for a while and doing some of that. I know you do carburetor work. You know, talk about some of that stuff that you do and some of the stuff maybe you're aspiring to still work on.
Yeah. So I help for the most part. I help a lot with just building engines and doing all the prep work before that, and I'll pull all the engines apart, you know, when we get rebuilds and stuff, pull them all apart, clean them, prep them. Yeah. And then I also do work out in the shop too on the other cars. When we have customer cars come in, I work on all those too with, you know, of course, with my dad, and my sisters are here a little bit here and there. But yeah, so it's just a family run business. It's just us here. We don't have any employees. It's just us. So we do all the work to the engines and the cars and everything. So
yeah. Is there an aspect of engine building that you like the most?
See, no, I love all of it. I love the whole thing all about it, because there's just so much, you know, like, I guess my favorite thing about all of it is like the detail that goes into it. I'm a very detailed person. So I love the detail, the precision, like, you know, there's so much that goes into building engines, and all the, you know, there's all the, you know, the calculations you have to put in, and the checking and clearances, and you got to make sure everything is perfect and everything is super clean. I mean, that's how we do it. Everything has got to be super clean, laid out, organized. Yeah.
So on the flip side, is there anything that annoys you or is a little bit of a hassle about engine building? You know, that one job that you don't enjoy doing? Or at this point, is there, you know,
there's
you know
really,
what you're
I don't
doing?
think there's that I just don't like. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. It's like, I love doing it. I mean, waiting for parts is a thing, you know,
Yeah.
always waiting for parts, having to
Yeah.
send stuff out and wait, but
Yeah, we're all in that same boat these days, aren't we?
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Hannah, you mentioned that your dad's had the shop for, you know, 35 years plus. Obviously, he's a super experienced guy. He's done a little bit of everything. What's some of that, you know, best engine advice that he's passed on to you? You know, what's something that always, you know, runs through your head as you're working on engines?
Let's see. There's so much stuff that I learn, and I learn something new every single day, because you can, you know, the moment you're like, oh, I know already, it's like you stop learning, and, you know, so, but I mean, one of the things I think that really sticks with me is, goodness, trying to pinpoint one, but I think one thing would be being thorough, you know, always being thorough and making sure that you do everything with perfection. You know, you never do something halfway. You go all the way with it, and you make sure that it's done right and it's done perfect, and that it's done, you know, with excellence.
Right.
And so that carries through in every aspect of everything that I do. If I'm cleaning parts, it needs to look like, if it's a engine that was brought to us and it was a rebuild, and I have to pull it apart and clean it, the way that I clean it, it better look like it came out of the box and it's brand new and I'm done cleaning it. You know, it's like I make sure I do everything thoroughly.
Yeah. Very good. That's certainly an important aspect of high performance engines, isn't it?
Yes.
Hannah, do you have a favorite engine, whether it's just a favorite one to build or a personal favorite in terms of having it in the car? Is there one that kind of rises to the top for you?
I don't know if there's a favorite. I do favor Chevrolet engines more than any of the other ones, but I mean, I grew up with you know, always like, I love Chevrolet, you know,
Yeah.
I love Mopar too. I drive a Mopar daily. So, but I race Chevrolet. So,
Okay.
but,
Good.
but yeah, I love all types of engines. So I don't think there's one that rises above the other. We've built some really, really good engines. I know the one we did for my car, like that thing is amazing. Like I've got, goodness, probably over 100 runs on it, and it runs so good, so consistent.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect segue into talking a little bit about your racing that you've been doing now for a few years, and you're referring to your car, which is called Supernatural, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to tell everybody a little bit about what exactly that car is, the engine in it, and what kind of racing you're doing?
Yeah. So it's a 68 Nova, and I got it as a roller from a customer of mine, which was actually pretty crazy. Like my last race in Vegas, I ended up meeting a girl who knew the owners because the car was built in Oregon. And I found out this huge, crazy story about the car, which is always, I think, pretty awesome when you figure out the backstory of a car, you know,
Sure.
your car, like, whoa, that's so cool. So it was pretty interesting. And then I was able to get a hold of some people that worked on it too,
Yeah.
you know, building it. But this car, it's a really, really awesome car. And so I started racing this one back when I was, goodness, oh my gosh, how long is it? 2019, I think, is when I got this car.
Okay.
Yeah. I got this one back in 2019, and I drag race it, quarter mile. Yeah, this one is such a good car. I really like the way that this one was built. We built an engine for it and set it all up and everything. And this car is consistent as they get. Like, you know, it is a really, really well built car.
And you said that you have a Chevy engine in the Nova?
Yeah, I've got a big block Chevy in this one.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the specifics in it?
It's probably got about 950 horsepower to it. It's one that, you know, we put like really all the good stuff in it. You know, we've got like ISKI cam and lifters and all that their valve train and all that stuff. And the heads, let me think, which heads were on these ones? I want to say, yeah, these ones were a set of Brodex heads we had. That, okay. Yeah, set of Brodex heads we had on it. It's a really strong engine. This engine's lasted very well.
Very good. And then you said you're doing a quarter mile drag racing. What kind of times are you getting out of it?
So yeah, I do quarter mile. This one, I bracket race this car. So okay. We have it at about like I'd say high 9s, low 8s, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And what are you striving for in the future of your racing? You know, are you planning to keep, you know, building this car out to make a leap to another level, or do you have future plans to do something entirely new and maybe just move up a class or something? Or?
Yeah, I mean, with this car, I don't want to like change a whole lot about it because it is such a consistent bracket car. It's a really good car. So I like to keep this one kind of as is. Maybe I'll, you know, end up, you know, I don't know, changing a few things, but I think I do want to end up, you know, going faster and other things, but I'll end up getting probably into the car for that. And moving up with that. But of course, always got to go faster and move up, stay where you're at. Right.
Yeah.
I also want to get into other racing too, you know, like I want to do road racing and off-road racing too. Those are also, you know, things that I love. I like doing all that stuff too. I love trucks too. So
yeah. Now, would you get into something like trophy trucks or something like UTV racing? Yeah.
Yeah, which has interested me for a very long time. I know a lot of people who do, you know, the Baja races and all that stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, definitely no lack of excitement when you're racing, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, and speaking of excitement, that's not all you do. Again, we mentioned that you stunt drive, which of course is something that your dad has done for a very long time. And
Yeah.
you know, anyone who's familiar with your dad, Sammy, you know, they know some of the Fast and Furious stuff and Ice Road Truckers and different things that he's done stunts in. So again, how did it come about for you? Was, you know, that just something that you picked up, you know, again, because you were sitting in the car with him all the time and learning this stuff, or, you know, did it just kind of naturally come to you?
So with this, with stunt driving, like I said, like, yeah, I've been driving for a very long, like behind the wheel for a very long time, almost my whole, and driving a car. I remember the first, let me think. One of the first cars that I drove was a rental car that we had here, and it was a Mazda Miata. It was like an '06 or something like that. I don't even remember, but it was an old Mazda Miata that I drove. And that was when I was like 7 or 8. And we started, we have a stunt car. It's a 67 Camaro. And that's what I started, you know, my dad trained me in, was the 67 Camaro. We have it set up for stunts. We do that with people. We put on stunt shows with it. And then people will come to us to also to learn stunts in this car. And so that's where I learned everything out in front of our shop, you know, and my dad just showing me, you know, all the things, 180s, 360s, reverse 180s, you know, all that stuff. And I learned it in a way that, you know, like with this, the way he trained me was the best in my opinion, because it was, again, with perfection and being thorough. So we set up cones out front and wet the street down. And I'd go out there and he'd be like, give me a 90 right up to the cone. Yeah, I want that cone in the center of your door. And I said, okay. And I would have to be out there, and I'd have to he'd say, get 5 in a row, exactly the same. And so I'd go out there, 5 in a row, you know, like 1, 2, 3. And if I messed up, I had to start again from 1 and go over it, you know? And then once I mastered a 90 on the right side, then he's like, okay, now do it on the left side, you know? So it's like, I'm not just like, oh, I can do a 90, but I can only do a 90 on this side, you know? So then it was a 90 on this side, and I had to get it 10 times perfect. And then it was, you know, okay, now I want you to do a 180. And then it was a 360. And then it was, you know, and it just kept moving up, and, you know, and that's how that went. And that was, I know, like, I'm thankful that I was, you know, learned that way, because it wasn't just oh yeah, I can do it, but I can only do it 1 time. It's like, no, I can do that, and I can do it 10 times if you need it done, you know. And that really helped with a lot of, you know, moving out to when I was doing it on for shows and movies and commercials. And
Right, certainly.
Yeah.
So Hannah, you mentioned a little bit of some of the stunt work that you do in terms of, you know, where it shows up, but do you want to just reiterate some of the stuff you might have appeared in and done stunt work for?
Yeah, let me think. I did one for a Blade commercial, those Uber helicopters. I did one for a Blade commercial. That one was kind of fun. It was I had to take a Mustang that was not set up at all. It was a convertible Mustang. It was just a old street car. You know, it was like a 60s Mustang, and that thing was falling apart. And they're like, oh, we want you to take this down the street and then make a hard right onto a dirt road, and then take it and slide it up to the helicopter, so that the girl's gonna get out and go on the helicopter. I was like, okay. And there was like, in the middle of that road, there was like quicksand, you know, and it's like if you hit that quicksand, it's like, it's gonna throw the car wherever you want. Oh, that was a fun one. That was fun, but that was a good one. But I do like a lot of precision driving right now, so a lot of things for like so yeah, I did the Blade commercial, and there was something I did one for a movie, which was like Tattooed Love or something. And did some driving, like some background driving for like Birds of Prey and stuff. That was more recent. Yeah. I'm like, for some reason I'm blanking on the shows that I worked on, because a lot of times I'm just like, I just go out there and I'm out there and I do it.
Yeah. But it's TV, it's movies, it's music videos.
Yeah, TVs, movies, music videos. Like we did some stuff for well, like I told you earlier, like we were out there for stunt safety and stuff last night, Wednesday night,
Yeah.
Thursday night, Tuesday night to Wednesday. Yeah. But yeah,
That's all blurring together, right?
Commercials. Yeah. Anything for camera, I'll go out there, I'll do that.
Hannah, I'm personally curious, how do those types of jobs come about? Are they specifically seeking, you guys out because, your dad's been doing it for so long, or are you kind of like auditioning to some degree to be in some of this?
Yeah. So the stunt community is honestly kind of small. So everybody kind of knows everybody. It's like a big family kind of thing. And they all know my dad. So a lot of times they reach out to us and with stunt jobs, and they are like, hey, we have this job. Do you think could you do that? And, oh, we need a girl that's this height with brown hair. Could she do this for us? Could she double her? And I'm like, yeah, so, yeah, a lot of them, they come, they get a hold of us for that.
Very good. And then last thing related to the stunt driving, you mentioned that you're capable of doing all these different things because of, the training that your dad kind of put you through and the experience that you've already had. But is there a stunt that you've done that is one of your favorites, or just maybe was one of the toughest that you had to do?
Let me think. I don't think. No, I haven't had any of that where like, oh, I'm like, this is really tough. But I've done a lot of precision driving for this. I haven't done any like car jumps or flips or anything like that yet. I'm totally down to do that for sure. I will do car flips and rolls and jumps and stuff like that. But, those are things you don't really practice for. Those are, you have experienced people who have done that. Like this one we just did was a pipe ramp, but these people, like this guy's done it for, he's done over hundreds of pipe ramps, and so that's something I would get a hold of my dad and his buddies, and they would help set me up and make sure that I'm safe for it,
Right. Very good. Hannah, again, I mentioned, you're still, young and you got a bright future ahead of you in terms of being in this industry. But I wanted to ask you, being a woman in an industry that is still heavily male dominated, whether it's engine building or racing, or I'm sure stunt driving falls into some of that category too. What has it kind of been like for you as a woman in this industry, in terms of maybe some of the adversity you faced, or is it something that you've been able to just overcome and not pay too much mind to?
Yeah, so for me, and I believe like for me personally, I haven't really experienced any like kind of like backlash or any of that or anything. I mean, it's like ever since like I was little, like my parents are always like, they taught me to be very, like not kind of like pay attention to like what people say and all that stuff. And so like I'm very like, like I brush stuff off. So if somebody says something, I'm just like, it's just like that. But for me, I haven't had to experience any of that. Maybe it's just because I haven't paid attention to it or anything, but like with my racing and stuff like that, it's also, like I have my dad who kind of sets that tone as well. And so thankfully with that, he has, a lot of respect. And so people, it kind of passes down as well. Sure. So I'm thankful for that for sure. I don't have to deal with that. And I mean, there isn't a lot of women in stunts or in racing, or especially engine building and stuff. But I haven't had to experience any problems with that at all. And yeah, there's a lot of, thankfully I don't have to. But I also, even if I did, like there's been times, like there's always, I think it's funny, honestly. And, like whenever I go to shows and like SEMA or like, like little shows, I do shows or car shows or something like that. Like all the older people, like the older guys, are always going to be like, oh, really? You do? Let me see your hands. I was like, what is that supposed to show? I don't have anything to prove. Like, like, yeah, you're going to see my hands. They look pretty beat up. They're not, like yeah. I couldn't. There's calluses and cuts and,
Yeah, no like super long fingernails or anything like that. Yeah.
No, they're pretty short, and like the longer they get, I can't get them long. And the longer they get, the more grease gets packed under there, and I'm like, nah. Yeah. So, or I got to clean out. So I keep them short.
They get put to work.
They're working hands.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
For sure.
Very good.
But
very good.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, again, not to harp on your young age still, but one of the things in this industry that is, kind of an issue is that there's not tons and tons of young folks getting involved in terms of starting new shops or taking over shops or, kind of taking the place of, the generation that's here now. But what's some of your advice for other folks your age or around your age that, might have an interest or, might not know enough about what this industry is in terms of how they can get into it?
So my biggest advice, and this is what I tell everybody when they ask me, is that first of all, the first thing you want to do is figure out what it is that you love to do. Figure out your passion, whether it could be across the board from anything, right? And just figure out what you're passionate about, because that's what you're going to do really good at, right? Figure out what your passion is. And then once you find out what you're passionate about and what you could get up every single day and be happy doing, do that. And then perfect it, become the best you could be at it, right? I always say, find a mentor. Find somebody you can get under. Find somebody that is doing exactly what you want to do, not somebody that has done it, like did it once, or, like this or that. It's like somebody that's doing it exactly what you want to do. Like with my dad, like he is my mentor, and he does this. This is his living. He eats, breathes, drinks and sleeps it. It's like, this is what he does. And so I go under him. There's no reason for me I don't need to go to a school for this. I don't need to go anywhere else. I go under my mentor, and I follow everything he says, because he's battle tested and battle proven with it. And that's what mentors are. They're there to train you, and they're there to bring you up and help you into that, right? And that's what I always say, is just get under a mentor and learn everything that you can. Learn. Even if you're starting by just holding a flashlight, because that's how we all start, right? It's holding a flashlight, or I when I was little, I just mopped the shop. Like I was like 8 years old, 7 years old, 6 years old. I'm like mopping the shop, and cleaning things, organizing things, like organizing bolts and tools. And that's how you learn sizes and stuff, So it's like everybody starts small, and that's foundation. You want to get that good foundation,
right?
And that you start. But having a passion for what you're getting into is very big. Like, I go to anybody that doesn't have a passion for what they do, because then it's like they're just doing it for the money, and that's or fame.
Right. No, that's certainly well said. Obviously in this industry, there's a lot of folks who've done it for a really long time and very knowledgeable people. So there's plenty of mentors out there. But like you said, Hannah, you have to have the passion and the drive to learn what you're being taught and to keep at it and do it the right way. That's probably the biggest struggle, is just getting people to stick with it and have the passion for it.
Yeah, because especially when it comes to this field with building engines and cars and drag racing and stunts, it's like they can be very dangerous things. And especially if you're building somebody's engine and you don't have a passion for it, or you're just kind of like in and out with it, it's like your head's not in it all the way. So it's like you could be putting your driver in danger, possibly. It's like, this is very serious stuff. You need to be like, I feel like it has to be your passion. You've got to love this, because you're building something for somebody. You're building their car. We do everything except for bodywork and paint. So it's like we set up their cars, we everything. So it's like, you got to be in it to win it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Hannah, one of my last questions here is just, looking to the future. Again, you got a lot going on, but, what's kind of on the horizon that you're excited about, whether it's engine building, racing, or stunt driving, or maybe one thing for each? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to, for sure, moving up and always, getting better and learning more and more and the most that I can, expanding my horizon with my racing, going faster with my drag car, and also like adding other racing types of racing to my resume. And we do, I don't know if my dad mentioned, but we have some big stuff coming out pretty soon. It hasn't yet, but something we've been working on for goodness, 2 years now. But I can't really say too much of it because NDAs and all stuff, but we do have a big show coming out, but I can't say anything else about that. But yeah, so that's something to look forward to for us and everybody. That should be coming out this year, but
Very
soon.
cool. Yeah.
Oh,
that's great. And Hannah, of course, you got some social media channels. Do you want to tell the folks where they might be able to follow you and keep up with some of the stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, so I have Instagram, which is Hot Rod Hannah 777. And then I have a YouTube, which is also just my name, and Facebook, which is also my name too. And then we have websites too, which mine is my name, www.hannahmaloof.com, and then the shop is maloofracingengines.com.
Very good. Well, Hannah, again, really appreciate you giving us some of your time today to chat and tell us all the things that you got going on and the great work that you and your family and your shop does. So keep that up. And again, we appreciate it. So guys, make sure you're checking out Hannah Maloof on social media. Make sure you're checking out Engine Builder Magazine for more engine content. And we appreciate you guys all watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.